Hello and welcome to this board game overview from Tantrum House. Today's video is for the game Hegemony by Hegemonic Project Games. Welcome back, my name is Jonah Dew, and like I mentioned, this overview video is an inside look at the game Hegemony, Lead Your Class to Victory. This game is from Hegemonic Project Games. Okay, Hegemony is an asymmetric, politico-economic, card-driven board game for 2 to 4 players. It puts you in the role of one of the socio-economic groups in this fictional state. Now, don't be nervous that you won't be able to understand the explanation of the game because it really is intriguing and, well, we'll walk through the different roles and what to expect during gameplay together in this video. Before I begin, you actually should know that this video is sponsored by the creating company, so you won't hear me talk about things I personally liked or did not like about the game. What I'm going to do is give you an overview of gameplay. We'll take a close look at the game board, the differences in the asymmetric groups or players that you can play, and I'll actually do my very best to keep my comments objective, so that way you can build your own opinions and you can decide if the game's right for you. Now, this game actually is headed to Kickstarter, so if you're interested after watching this video, you've got to head to Kickstarter to back it, and we'll actually make sure that we put a link in the comments for you. Alright, are you ready? Let's dive in. Like I mentioned, Hegemony is a 2 to 4 player game where each player takes on one role of this socio-economic groups in this fictional state. Now the game is driven by card play and it does have some Euro mechanisms in the game. One of the most intriguing parts of this game is the true asymmetric attributes of the different players and really of the game itself. Now, I'm sure you're probably familiar with games that claim asymmetric roles when all that really means is that you have different player powers, but you all follow the same basic actions. Well, this game does not fit that mold. In this game, you can play as the working class. The working class controls the workers. They work in companies, earning money which they can spend to cover their basic needs, which are food, health, education, and if possible, entertainment. They can apply a lot of political pressure, and they can also form unions to increase their influence. Or you can play as the capitalist class that controls the companies. So workers work there, and the capitalist sells the goods and services produced. Deals can also be made with foreign states, and pressure is also applied to the state when it comes to matters like taxation and tariffs. The goal of the capitalist is very clear: maximize the profit. In a 3-player game, you play as the middle class. It combines elements from both the working class and the capitalist class. It has workers who can work in the capitalist companies, but it also can build companies of its own, yet smaller. It also struggles to cover the basic needs like food, health, and education while trying to keep a balance between producing, selling, and consuming. And finally, you can play as the state. The state is trying to keep everyone happy, providing benefits and subsidies when needed, but also trying to maintain a steady income through taxes to avoid going into debt. At the same time, it has to deal with a constant flux of events requiring immediate attention or face the consequences. Now, I actually listed those roles in a specific order because in a 2-player game, it's only the capitalist class and the working class that are eligible to play. In a 3-player game, that's where you add in the middle class, and the state is only available for a 4-player game. Gameplay, of course, takes place on the game board, and here are some things that you should know about gameplay. Let's actually start with looking at the game board in just one section. So this section is the private sector. The private sector has 12 spaces for the capitalist companies and 8 spaces for the middle class companies. Most of the companies placed in this section will come from gameplay, but a few do start there when you start the game. Depending on which type of company is built, that company will also produce one of the 4 types of goods or services, and those are food, luxury, health, and education. The company could require a mix of skilled or unskilled workers, and probably also have an adjustable wage scale. Now, there are a number of areas on the right-hand side of the game board that most directly relate to the state player. Even if you're not playing with 4 people, there are some rules about how to interact those with your player count. So, These spaces will decide how to deal with local and national events each round. There are spots for state benefits for each class. The state treasury holds all of their funds, and just below that you'll see a public services section, and that's where you'll have your inventory of health, education, and media influence. Whew! Now that I've explained a little bit about your player and a little bit about the board, let's take a look at a player's turn, and that will help tie everything together. Okay, the game is played over a series of 5 rounds, and each round has 5 phases. Each player has their own deck of cards that will be used to take action. At the beginning of each action phase, you draw a hand of 8, and on your turn, you may play 1 card in your hand for its effect, or discard that card without taking its effect and use a basic action. Now, there are a good amount of action cards, and the cards are actually, most of them actually unique to each deck, each player. One of the things that stood out to me as well is that there are a good amount of basic actions that are also unique to each player. I'll show you some differences here. The working class can strike or hold a demonstration, which the capitalist class can make a business deal or lobby. The middle class can pull an extra shift, while the state can charge extra tax or handle events. Many action cards have a requirement in the bottom corner, which directly relates to the top left section of the game board. This is where you track the position of 7 different political policies. You've got fiscal policy, labor markets, taxation, healthcare and benefits, education, foreign trade, and immigration. Each of these policies have 3 different positions that you can see designated by the letters A, B, and C. And depending on the position of each of these policies in the gameplay is directly adjusted. So, next phase is the production phase, where the various companies in the game produce goods and services, and the workers in them are paid their wages. You'll also need to consume food if you're playing with the middle or working class, and pay taxes to the state as well. Then you've got the elections phase. During the action phase, if anyone proposed a bill in order to attempt to change a political policy, then that's when you'll carry out an election. Then, of course, you've got this mini scoring phase just based on that round. There is a final scoring phase that'll take place after you've finished all five rounds. So, here are some things that you should know about the game. Personally, I was impressed with 2 things initially when I opened that game box. And the first was the concepts book. So, inside the box, they have this rule book-esque book that talks about the political and economic concepts that went into the design of this game. So it's not like a requirement to read by any means, but I thought, wow, I mean, somebody put some serious time and energy and effort into this game to make sure that it represents a true and real society and state. The second thing that impressed me was the individualized rule sets for each player. So in the rule book, they have these designated sections telling you all you need to know, just depending on which role that you're going to take in the game. I thought that was impressive because it really gives you the ability to sit down and play, knowing in the back of your head that a rule or concept particular to me and my player is probably going to be answered in my section of the rulebook. It also makes it really easy to kind of go through it while you play and find the answer to that question very quickly. So that way you can really enjoy gameplay as opposed to, oh my goodness, I need to go back to the rules and figure that out, or I don't know where to find that, or just scrolling through the rulebook so much while you play. The rulebook actually even comes with a frequently asked questions section. So it really just is helpful to get a great understanding of the game, how to play it, what to do on your turn. Now, obviously, I didn't go over every single thing in this game, which I'm sure you probably understand, but I will tell you it takes planning and strategic actions to win this game. Only one class is the winner at the end, although your class interacts with all the others. So, do you have what it takes to lead your class to victory? Anyway, thanks so much for joining us here at Tantrum House Studio J. Like I mentioned, Hegemony is coming to Kickstarter very soon if it's not available right now. So if it's your type of game, you should totally check it out. Also, we've got a video on our channel of a 4-player game of Hegemony where we play through it. So if you want to see some gameplay, you can totally check that out. As always, if you want to hear more from us, then make sure you like our videos and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time. Ba-dum bum ba-dum bum.